Hello everyone, Doofiend here, coming to you from the cockpit of the glorious Mosquito. Of course, we're, rocking the USA, star and bar over there. But other than that, this is just the same as any other British Mosquito. I'm going to be going over the cold start today. Interesting fun fact, there have been a number of changes since the Chuck's guide was out, and so it's been a work for me to figure this out and get it going. I am not an expert in the Mosquito. This is basically me going from zero and trying to figure it out. And I'm doing it on camera in front of everybody else. Nonetheless, I'm going to go through a few things here. I'm going to notice that my brake is still in the locked position. It sticks out further when it's unlocked. Let's see, I'm going to go through over here. I've got my engine control management panel thingy over here. That's my main electric power. My magnetos for both engines. I'm going to go to the back of the cockpit here. Now I do know that it is fuel pumps. And for whatever reason, when you air start, those tabs are outboard and this is up. I've got a fuel pump here, manual primer pump. Do I have any idea how much that's supposed to do? No, I don't. No clue. There are a couple of complications here. The Spitfire and this Mosquito require you to press both of these buttons simultaneously to start the left engine, and those ones for the starboard engine. Now I've got those bound to a HOTAS just like you'd have to do with a Spitfire, but there's one more step. You've got to open the window to talk to the ground crew. We found my cursor here. There's my cursor. Okay, so we got to do that. Pull up the radio menu. Ground crew, start priming engines. And I've got those buttons bound to the HOTAS. Those button covers will come back down after I push them. But here we go. Okay, so that's one engine started. Note the covers are back down. And now I've got to press those two buttons. Pressing the buttons. Alright, and we have engine started. Well, I'm going to close this window because I don't intend to arm up. You'll need this window open to arm up. There we go. Alright. Post start, there's a couple things I would mention. This is your mixture control. You leave that down in rich. See, it says rich and weak. Leave that down in rich for takeoff and for climbing and dogfighting. Weak for cruising. That'll improve your fuel efficiency. We should probably advance our propeller RPM. I just bring it back there. I actually don't know what the red line is because it's not marked here. That's the gauges for the RPM, our boost gauges, our oil temp gauge, our oil pressure gauges, and our engine coolant gauge. Landing lights, on or off, whichever. It really makes sense to me to have these three switches on. This is your pitot heater, fuel pump, which you think you should have on before you start, but here is the gun sight switch. So the gun sight is on. All right. Aside from that, I would probably turn my radio on personally. There's no real indication of where these gauges should be for properly warmed up, but I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm just going to go ahead and start. Behind the gun sight is our turn and bank indicator and our VSI. It's kind of hidden. Anyway, Again, with the post start, I would, on the ground, I would probably introduce some trim. I would probably put my rudder trim over to the R in trim for starboard. I actually, over here with my tail trim, I would put it's pretty severely nose down in order to take off properly and fly properly. I would recommend at least that second mark and adjust from there when you're in the air. But it needs that, and then over here is your aileron trim. I would recommend for takeoff going all the way over to that second mark, which is a lot, but you'll see when I try to take off why that's important. I am otherwise all done. I'm going to hit my brake, and you see how much further out that is when it's unlocked. Let's see here. I'm going to taxi over to the runway here. Oh, too much. Okay, all right. Let's actually taxi here instead of trying to communicate on the radio. All right, F1 gets that off the screen. Now, with this, I've got the two engines bound together. I haven't seen any real advantage to splitting these throttles. Even when you take damage to one engine, there's just no point, in my opinion. Again, I am not an expert here. But I'm using the rudder and the wheel brake just like you would with a Russian aircraft or with a Spitfire. I'm using that to turn. And here we are. Here's the runway. Yeah, come on around. Come on around. All right. This is the Punta Arenas Airport on the South Atlantic map. It's kind of the biggest military airport around. And there's the runway threshold. Alright. And we are more or less here. Alright, hopefully more videos on this airplane coming up. I will see you in a future video. Dooffiend out.